It cracks me up. I don't actually crack up, though. How often do I laugh? I do not know. There are fruit flies all over me. Why? It's impossible to even sit down. What about on this side? Are there fruit flies on this side? Oddly not. So your options are to sit in the sun, develop melanoma, sweat. Eventually your skin will turn to leather. There won't be any bugs until you start to sweat, of course, which happens almost immediately. And then there are bugs sucking the sweat from your pores. This is in the desert, of course. In the south, where it rains and where we dry our Mississippi rivers into irrigation canals, there's a less likely chance that the bugs will be deprived of water and that the grass will be dry and the trees will be slaked. Although slaked is to be hydrated. You need a word that's more about drought. In either case, the fruit flies are still over here, but they're not attacking me. So that's superior, I suppose, in some capacity. And the dogs are barking. So you could consume things that aren't fruitful for you. But where will that leave you at the end of the day? Could watch a YouTube video, but I realize that YouTube videos don't actually resolve anything. They just perpetuate your interest. So I think it's best to not make YouTube videos, to not watch them. I make them just for my own documentation, to give me something to do. And so when I die, they'll ask, oh, what did he do with his life? I will have these videos. Why do these flies keep attacking me? There's nothing to do. I wonder if I sat on the steps, if it'd be any better. Maybe it's the cushions. It is the Japanese sensation to go with nature, not against it. But it is very much in the American tradition to go against nature. If a Japanese man was being attacked by flies, what would be his response? I think you'd have to ask, what does nature want from you? Do they want food? What if I pour sugar water, which is what I'm drinking, onto this cup here? Do they want the sugar water? How do you tell them that this is where the sugar water is? The 7-Up cooler. They want me for some reason. They don't want my sugar water. If I put this by my ear. Sugar water for all. Sugar water for all. The second alternative is to give a fan. If you blow a fan on you, the wind will blow the bugs away. And the reason there's so many gnats today is because there's not a single mile per hour of wind that is blowing nature on you. With nature, I suppose so. The fan is with nature. The American alternative is to use pesticides or to go inside. But if you go inside, it's this air-conditioned ice box that doesn't give you anything. All right, let's move again. But a fan. How is a fan with nature? Can't possibly be with nature. What does the Japanese man do when he is attacked by bugs? He can fan himself, but if he were to perpetuate the process of fanning himself, he would need to use a certain kind of mechanism. He could build his home in a valley where there's naturally wind. Is that working with nature? To say that humans can only live in certain parts of the world because only those certain parts of the world are hospitable? Or is the Roman that conquered nature? If there's no water here, we will engineer water. If there's a mountain here, we will tear the mountain apart. If this is a desert, we will call it Las Vegas, and we will build abundance. We will do it in the name of profit. What if someone said nobody can live in the desert? Reminds me of Dune and the people who worked more with nature. To some degree. They used advanced technology to have a lower impact on nature, to conserve their water. They used the worms to their advantage instead of a common consensus of their aliens, which was to avoid the worms, kill the worms, shoot the worms. If a worm is near, then you abandon ship because the worm will destroy you. But there is an alternative. To go with. To be with. And so if you're depressed, how do you go with nature? Think you let your depression just be there? If I don't want to enjoy this, I'm not going to pretend to enjoy it. I'm just going to sit in my misery and watch it, with no expectation of it ever leaving me. And these days have been less painful, even though they've been no more enjoyable. I've not been happy, but I've not been in anguish either. So, as I sit in front of 4 Porsches on a multi-million-dollar property, completely hating every little piece and component of it and of our society, completely exhausted. I don't want to eat. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to wake up. And I don't want to know that I haven't woken up. I don't want to know that I'm about to never wake up again either. I basically don't want to exist. But the only way I can actually not want to exist is to escape the knowledge of having existed. Because because now that I've existed, my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual condition is to crave further existence. So the only way I can actually escape is an impossibility. So all I can do now is wait. A human God, these bugs are eating me alive. Day. This is the third day. Wow, to do something 3 times. That means it's intentional. I have no answer to the bugs. I hate being eaten alive. But the main reason I hate it is because I think I can prevent it. Because as a human, we're told that we can change our world. But what if you're a dinosaur or a hippopotamus, and there was really nothing you could do to prevent the bugs from eating you at all hours of the day? You were a horse. You had to just stand there on the fields. I guess you wouldn't come to bother. I mean, obviously you'd hate these biting flies, but there's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, you're not happy about the flies, but they're there nonetheless. It's kind of like my life, any life, if you see it that way, or if you can't unsee it. If life itself is miserable for you, but you realize there's no actual escape from it, then you're free. The rest of my family looks at me miserable and they say, "Oh, we can fix this." But I say, what if you didn't have to fix it?